Hey everyone, and welcome back. Tonight, I've got 3 chilling and unforgettable horror stories to share with you. The kind that crawl under your skin and stay there long after the screen goes dark. Turn off the lights, put on your headphones, and let's begin. Story 1. The Man at the Window. I used to live in a small, quiet neighborhood just outside of town. Nothing strange ever happened there. It was a kind of place where people still said hello in the mornings and borrowed sugar from neighbors. I moved in after college, renting a small one-bedroom house with a front porch and a big window that faced the street. That window became part of my nightly routine. Every evening, I'd make a cup of tea, sit in my armchair, and just stare out at the quiet street while scrolling my phone. It started with a feeling of being watched. You know that weird pressure you get on the back of your neck, like someone's behind you. Even though you're alone, I chalked it up to stress. New job, new town, new place. I ignored it, but the feeling got stronger every night. And then I saw him. It was a Thursday night, close to midnight. I was half asleep in the chair, phone slipping from my hand, when I glanced at the window and saw a man standing across the street, completely still, just watching my house. He wasn't doing anything. No movement. No flashlight. Just standing in the shadows near the lamppost. He was tall, maybe 6 feet 5 inches, and his clothes were strange, like something from another time. A long coat, boots, and what looked like a wide-brimmed hat. At first, I thought maybe it was a neighbor, or a drunk, but something felt off. He was standing too still, too straight. After a few minutes, he turned and walked away. I didn't sleep well that night. The next day, I checked with the people on my street. No one had seen him. No one matched the description. A couple of older women told me the area was safe. Nothing ever happens here, they said. But I started closing the curtains earlier, just in case. Then he came back. 2 nights later. Same spot, same position. This time, he was closer to my side of the street. I stood up and walked toward the window slowly, heart pounding. I didn't turn on any lights. Didn't want him to know I saw him. I watched him for maybe 10 minutes. He never moved. Then I blinked, just blinked, and he was gone. I ran outside barefoot, searching up and down the street. No sign of him. That became the pattern. He showed up every few nights, always between midnight and 1 a.m. Sometimes he stood across the street, sometimes a few feet from my porch. Once, he was right outside the window, face inches from the glass. But I never saw his face. It was always shadowed, like the light bent around it. My phone wouldn't take pictures. Every time I tried, the image was just black. I called the police. They came, took a report, and promised extra patrols. But of course, he never came when they were around. One night, I decided to confront him. I waited by the window with the porch light on. Midnight came. 12:10, 12:30. Nothing. Then at 12:46, I heard it. 3 slow knocks on the window. I jumped back so hard I knocked over the lamp. I froze. He was there, standing just inches away, behind the glass, not moving. I couldn't breathe. And then he raised his hand and pointed, not at me, behind me. I turned around. Nothing. When I looked back, he was gone again. I moved out 2 days later, broke my lease, paid the fine, and got the hell out. It's been over a year now. Different town, different apartment. I haven't seen him since. But sometimes, when I can't sleep, I catch myself staring out the window, waiting, just in case. Story 2, Voices in the Drain. I used to work the night shift at a warehouse on the edge of an industrial district. The kind of job where the clock barely moves and the buzzing of fluorescent lights becomes part of your brain. I'd take smoke breaks around 3 a.m., walking a little path that ran along the back of the building near the drainage canal. Most nights, it was uneventful. Cold air, silence, maybe a stray raccoon or two. But one night, and I swear to this, I heard someone whispering from the storm drain. It was quiet at first, just a murmur. I thought maybe it was my phone pocket dialing or playing a video. But when I checked, nothing. Still, the sound continued. Low, with syllables echoing out of the big round concrete pipe that opened into the canal. I leaned closer. It sounded like someone repeating a word over and over, but I couldn't make it out. And the voice, it didn't sound quite human, like it was stretched or gurgling through water. I stood there listening, frozen, for what felt like a full minute. Then the voice stopped, and another one started, a different voice, deeper, angrier. It said, "You're not supposed to be here." I jumped back and sprinted inside. Didn't tell anyone. What could I say? That the sewer was talking to me? The next night, I avoided that path altogether. I stayed near the building, smoked quick, nervous cigarettes, and kept my eyes down. But 3 nights later, curiosity got the better of me. I walked back down to the drain, holding my flashlight this time. Nothing. No sound, just a steady trickle of runoff water and my own breath clouding in the air. I turned to leave and heard a splash. I whipped around. There was someone standing inside the drain, just at the edge of the darkness. Bare feet, soaked jeans, and a face I'll never forget. It was me. Same jacket, same haircut, same scar above my right eyebrow. But his eyes, they were completely black. No whites, just endless voids. He smiled and whispered, "It's warm down here." I ran, didn't sleep, didn't eat, thought I was losing my mind. Even considered checking into a clinic, but I kept going back. I couldn't help it. Every night, I'd walk to the drain, not too close, but close enough to listen, and the voices kept changing. Sometimes they were crying, sometimes laughing. Sometimes they begged me to come in, and sometimes they screamed my name over and over like they were stuck in pain. I tried recording it, brought my phone, hit record, nothing, dead silence on playback. Then one night, the drain was dry, no water, no voices, just cold, still air. I thought maybe it had ended, but when I turned to go, there were wet footprints behind me, bare, human-sized, leading from the drain to where I stood. I moved away. The prints followed. I ran into the warehouse, locked the door, and didn't step outside until the sun came up. I quit the job a week later. Couldn't take it. Couldn't pretend nothing was happening. Now I live 2 towns away in an apartment with no storm drains, no ditches, no canals. But sometimes late at night, I hear gurgling from my bathroom sink. And once, I heard that same voice whisper, "It's your turn." Story 3, The Missing Room. It all started when I inherited my grandfather's house. I barely knew the man. He was distant, quiet, the kind of relative who only appeared at funerals and disappeared before dessert. But when he passed, he left me everything: the house, the land, and a sealed letter that simply read, "Don't open the door in the hallway." I assumed it was a joke, or maybe dementia. But when I moved in, I quickly understood there was something wrong with that house. It was an old Victorian structure on a hill, creaking with age and full of cold drafts. The hallway upstairs was long and narrow, with several doors on either side. Most led to bedrooms or storage closets, except one. At the very end of the hallway, there was a door that didn't match the others. While the rest were white with brass handles, this one was black. Not painted black, but black like it absorbed light. It had no handle, no keyhole, just smooth, seamless darkness. Naturally, I was curious. I knocked on it. Nothing. I pressed my ear against it and thought I heard breathing. But when I leaned back, it stopped. I asked a few locals about the house. One elderly neighbor said she remembered my grandfather sealing off a room sometime in the 1960s, but no one ever knew why. It wasn't there before, she told me. He just started building, and then he stopped, said it had to be done. That night, I dreamt of the hallway, the black door pulsing like a heartbeat, and something behind it whispering my name. I woke up drenched in sweat. The next morning, I went back to the hallway. The door looked different, like it had grown taller, or maybe the hallway had shrunk. I measured it just to be sure. 10 feet exactly. The next day, 11. I measured again and again every morning. The hallway was growing, slowly, subtly, an inch here, a half foot there. The other rooms weren't moving, only that one, and the door, it started humming. Not loudly, just a low, bass-like vibration, like a power line or generator. I couldn't hear it, but I could feel it in my bones when I stood close. I began having nightmares. In them, I was standing in front of the black door, trying to scream, but nothing came out. Something on the other side was mimicking my voice, repeating things I'd said that day. And then one night, the door was open, just a crack, barely enough to notice. There was no light inside, only darkness, a darkness that felt heavy, alive. I pushed the door. It swung open silently. Inside was a room that should not have existed. The house wasn't big enough to contain what I saw, a massive circular chamber, lined with mirrors, endless mirrors, and in every reflection I saw myself. But not me, versions of me. Some were older, some were younger, some missing eyes, fingers, parts of their face. Some stared, others smiled. One of them raised his hand and pointed behind me. I turned. Nothing. When I looked back at the mirror, that version of me was gone. I stepped back and slammed the door shut. It sealed itself with a sound like a deep breath being held. I ran downstairs and didn't sleep for 3 days. The hallway stopped growing after that, but I knew the door was still open on the other side. Then came the scratching. Every night at 2:11 a.m. exactly, I'd hear it. Light at first, then more frantic, like nails across wood. And I swear the walls would bleed. Not blood, but something dark, sticky, and pulsing like it had a heartbeat. I decided to leave. Packed a bag, got in my car and drove. That was 3 months ago. But last week I got a call. No caller ID, just silence. Then a voice that sounded like mine. You left me in the mirror. And when I checked my apartment hallway that night, the measurements were off by exactly 1 foot. And that brings us to the end of tonight's video. I've shared 3 chilling tales, each one darker than the last. If you enjoyed the ride, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, and ring the bell so you never miss what's waiting in the shadows. New stories are coming soon, and trust me, they're only getting stranger. Until next time, sleep tight.